why do I get up at before 7 in the morning to attend these? I think sometimes we do these things out of a sense of duty, but what I notice with this is that I come out of it with a few things. I come out of it with improved connections between the people on that screen, and I come out with a few really clever ideas. I have an opportunity sometimes to just vent about things that aren't working well, which is therapeutic, if perhaps not necessarily constructive. And really what it does is it sets the tone for when we have opportunity to meet in person and talk about these things in more depth.
Just for the non-clinicians in this town, 7 o'clock is actually not that early, but I have missed occasionally a meeting, but hardly ever. And the reason is that you don't need to be a physician to know that the last few years have been pretty dark in healthcare. And this group has held and nurtured me and taken care of me and allowed me to vent and sometimes cry about how healthcare has been. And at the same time, allowed me to access meaningful solutions, both for myself and for also healthcare in BC. And never once has my motives been questioned at that group. They're there with me, and I feel a real family attachment.
Being able to connect with all of my colleagues from across the province and realize that, you know, I'm not alone. I'm not like just an isolated island, but actually part of a much greater system. So I've been in my role for about 10 months and it's been a huge learning curve. And I'm just so appreciative of how welcoming this group has been. And I've just learned so much from coming to these meetings that I otherwise wouldn't have learned. And yeah, it's inspiring and I feel motivated when I start my day off like that.
I love attending these meetings. We spoke today about gravity and gravitas and things like that. And we certainly have challenges, but we are so privileged with what we do have. So for me, it increases the obligation to try and get things right. Because if we can't do it here, pretty much nobody in the world can get it right. So, you know, we have an obligation to try and do our best.
This is one of, I think, the most valuable sessions to connect with like-minded colleagues, to connect with communities that are experiencing the same things that we are experiencing. And that's been happening with this network for, since I started with the division. We would get together a couple times a year, and it was sort of that one place where you really felt like you're at home. And at some point today, somebody said that this is the most comfortable environment to be able to actually speak freely and share openly. And I just 100% support that and think that that is sort of the biggest reason to be here, is to feel supported and to support our other colleagues.
The camaraderie and collegiality and the peer support has helped us as a community to negotiate through some perilous and challenging times, including COVID. And I find it a source of tremendous inspiration and information.
The first word that came to mind to me was kindred spirits. So there's something about a community of people whose, while they're so disparate on a daily basis, so apart and so disconnected from each other, have a lot of common interests, common environment, and common motivations and goals and desires for making life in rural communities really impactful and really vibrant, both for the patient communities that we serve and for the providers.
It really is a very come as you are moment, and for those of us who are busy with family life and also, you know, getting ready to face the day, having meetings with physicians, sometimes pre-rounds, it's a great place to go, connect, to really understand what's going on, what the pulse is, what the scuttlebutt is, what the word is on the street, and not necessarily what you can get from reading a Facebook group or hearing necessarily from your members, but also knowing sort of what the pulse is around the province with all of the movers and shakers, physicians, thought leaders, executive directors, and of course, the dulcet tones of Dr. Josh Gregan and Dr. Karen Kowski. So always look forward to that.
For me, it's all the commonalities between the communities. I think you tend to think that you're alone, and then you get on these calls and there's nothing that doesn't feel safe to say or silly to say. And I think we say it, I hear other people talk about experiences, and it feels less isolating.
It's just fantastic to have that idea generation that happens in the meetings, as well as the opportunity to follow up. And also, I just have to put a plug in for really appreciate the guest speakers who are brought in, because I've learned a lot and end up stealing those ideas and bringing them back to our division and bringing some of the same speakers in to talk to our physicians.